Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS Challenger. We are going to be moving into our last match here for the European group as we go into that decider match to see who is the second player to make it out of this group. My name is Fear Dragon. I am joined by Zombie Grub. What's up?
Don't shoot me, man.
These finger guns only fire hype.
That was a good response. Yeah. I'm doing okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. How are you doing?
I'm so glad. You know, I've been asking you guys every single time I'm on the desk, how are you doing? And really, I just want you to ask how I'm doing.
Small talk is the worst, Fear Dragon. Just admit it.
What are you talking about? This is big talk, all right?
No.
This is heavy conversation right here as we move into our next match. Now, this is going to be a rematch in the first series of the day. We began with Lambo versus souL, and we're going to not really end with Lambo versus souL because we still got NA after this. But we're going to end the European segment with Lambo versus souL in the decider match. So we got to see how that first series played out. What were your thoughts on it? Because I was talking with Nate for that one.
I was asleep the entire time.
Cool, the passion is flying.
I'm just kidding. No, I got the gist. No, like actually, that's what we were talking about, right? When we were commenting Lambo and his PVZ, and that the beginning ZvP game was weird, but it was off of also like really just not great Lambo ZvT, and that's usually a fine matchup for him. I mean, I'm not sure it's like the best one for him, but it's usually fun. And he kind of played a bit weirder. Maybe he just found himself again in that awkward position. Didn't expect to be pushed that hard that late into a TVZ, and then was thrown off since then. So that's why the follow-up did what it did. But it was not the Lambo we were expecting, but he seems to have brought it back. And actually, I think so far we've had like group curses come into effect. So I'm going to call it again. I think Lambo does take this. My predictions of Lambo and eThermal getting out are true, just not in the order that I thought it'd be.
All right. Well, it looks like the vetoes are different from the first time around as we're going to Port Alexander for game number 1. As Tasteless would say, get your ships ready. Right? That's what he says?
Is it?
No.
I usually just fast forward, you know.
Wow. I watched the GSL with the commentators muted.
I mean, are you gonna like try and like lord over me that you listen to the first 10 seconds of every match?
I prioritize Cheesadelphia over GSL Super Tournament again.
Well, that's why you're so
good
at
But I am caught up, and I'm starting to catch up on GSL Super Tournament now.
Just a week late.
Just a week late, yeah.
Probably then some.
Well, you know, they say a week late is and a week strong.
What?
Starting down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the red Terran player. He is from Team Makers. It is souL.
I guess if you really were like, as they say, cows go home, and you like really were like, yeah, people say that, I'd be like, yeah, okay. The top left as the blue Zerg, he is Lambo.
With a pull first.
You could probably really convince me that some region of America talks like that and has a phrase like that.
Yes, we do.
Do you?
Yes.
What did you even say? Do you remember what you said?
No.
I didn't think you did.
Because I'm not from that region.
What? No, that doesn't make any... Anyways. So we'll pull first, and it is going to be 6 lings. Every larva available is being used. So if this goes perfectly, then you can even get a cancel on the command center. I mean, that's about as perfect as it can get.
And there is going to be a command center on the low ground over here. Sometimes there's a few really tricky, clever Terran players out there that say, ah, yes, I suspect you're going to early pool me this game, so I'll build the command center on the high ground. And therefore, your souL spawning pool first thing is kind of invalidated. But souL is not going to be doing anything of the sorts. Throws it down the low ground, gets out the Reaper. We'll see if he gets aggressive with it, though.
Right, it's more if the Reaper goes across the map instantly or not. Now, this Reaper does go across the map. Lambo sees that with his Overlord, that it seems to be looking for those lings. That's the direction it was headed towards, and then it curved around. Really nice response there, but at the end of the day... Ooh, hold on here, hold on. Okay. So at the end of the day, souL does buy a little bit of time regardless with that Reaper positioning, and Lambo is not even going to try and move in anymore. So the catastrophic thing that he doesn't get a follow-up Marine, doesn't buy any time, he just immediately goes across the map and he takes like tons of damage on his command center, doesn't even happen. We're not really talking about the early pool anymore.
Yep, and now the Reaper has made its way to this side of the map, and the Overlord has spotted it out, but the lings will go in. The thing is, the factory is about to finish up. The SCV has already finished the command center. Like
Yeah.
you said, it's really not going to make a whole lot happen because that time has passed.
So interesting that souL is going for this very, very fast third command center. I mean, it's it's not totally uncommon, but you do, I would say.
Usually part of the wall, right?
Well, no, only if it's after the starport.
Okay.
So this is not starport, not second gas. So it is basically the fastest third CC you can get with like maybe TY throughout a 1 barracks third CC, and that was like crazy. But there are ways you can tell that it's a third CC. The easiest way, though, is to have an Overlord spot it right there.
Okay.
That's the easiest way.
Well, good thing the Overlord is in the exact perfect location to spot that out. Now, we are going to see the Hellions start to get that map control, so there's not a lot in the immediate now that Lambo can really do about it. So he'll just get up his third hatchery, he'll get up his queens, get up a few lings to deal with any sort of Hellion poking and prodding here. But the starport follows up, there's a tech lab finishing up as well, so we'll see if this is going to fall up into Banshees or something, if he's going to swap that around.
I would expect so.
Yeah.
We do have that confirmation of Stim, though, so it's actually not. And it's not a fake. No Overlord's coming in here, so that will be maybe for more like Liberator. Harassment, maybe he can get even 2 and really try and micro his heart out there. So his third CC already being done so quickly, I mean, and it's going to be gotten away with. We don't have Lambo seeing that. And he did see it fast enough to like maybe try and cheese it, but you usually don't have that swift change of plans, even if you do get that fortunate scout. But he's going to have everything set up so perfectly, but Lambo is also probably going to get everything he wants set up perfectly. There's not much harassing him, and the starport isn't even being used. It's being used to make an add-on for the barracks.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The Hellions almost get surrounded. The Reaper will get picked off over here. That's a really nice snipe off for Lambo without really taking any damage on his lings. And by the ways, I mean, we'll wait and see in the next couple of minutes, because that's when we'll really find out what exactly the plan is here for Lambo. But not getting up any super fast lair tech or anything, just throws down his Baneling Nest, getting up his Carapace upgrade. And I want to know, does he go for any lair tech? Does he just stick around on Lings and Banelings again?
There's basically, as long as you get Baneling speed around the time of the attack, which is pushed off by like a minute with this fast third CC, or like 30 seconds something, then you're still good. Like, more power to you delaying that lair. You do not need the fastest cervical hooks against like a 2-base all-in, and you don't need an Overseer against the Banshee. So yeah, push that off, and just and if you have good creep spread, you might even delay that cervical hooks, a little bit later, even if there is an attack on the way. But I would say that souL is probably going to go for that immediate pickup of 2 medevacs, and then hits. Actually, it's coming very soon with Stim done.
Yeah.
We're on 6-6-30. And Lambo just needs to make sure to focus fire, right, on the medevacs with his queens, and have a decent amount of lings to stall out the Marines. And whoop, this is a way to stall out the Marines.
Yep, just use those lings to get aggressive and sniping up a couple of these Marines that are unloading for the medevac, doing some damage to the SCVs, trying to mine for the third base. The Siege Tank and the Hellions are going to be able to force these lings back. Oh boy, that hurt. Remember, Lambo does need some units alive to actually deal with the harassment, but it did get delayed by quite a bit. And now Baneling speed starts up, but it's not going to be done in time for the push.
So he is actually bringing a tank here. This isn't a lot of units, but with the Hellbats, do they have an armory? No, they're going to be just Hellions. So, okay, maybe they're not that scary, but it's that time where that creep spread really isn't that far out.
Yeah, at least by the 4th base right now, but it seems like there just aren't that many units. Banelings do end up going off on not a whole lot. The Siege Tank has to retreat back. Yeah, I don't really like souL sticking around for too much longer here anymore.
Yeah, when you got that decently timed +1 Carapace, right? So even a Ling surround in this army without combat shields, without their own 1/1, wouldn't be so bad, but Lambo, I don't know where his units were thinking of going. They were just
went up to the
north.
3rd. Yeah, they went up all the way up to between the 3rd and the natural for a little bit. I didn't see any harassment or anything happen on that side.
Guess he thought that souL was just retreating.
Okay, well, the Banelings come rolling on in. They don't really get any connections because of no Baneling speed. The Siege Tanks both survive. One finally goes down, but even the Queens have taken a lot of damage here. No transfuses. There's the transfuse coming out.
So that was really awkward, right? He goes for a surround, and I had just said that, like, with that +1 Carapace is 0-0, his Ling surround wouldn't be that bad. But the upgrade's actually finished when he finally got that surround, and his Banelings didn't get any connection. So it turned into what was probably supposed to be something that stops creep spread and delays droning is now turning into something that kills the base, gets more banelings, got a couple of queens, and even escapes, all while Lambo's still safely on 3 base with 70 workers.
And the Hydras just get started, even though that Hydra done has been done for a little bit now. So souL still does not have to worry about the immediate picking off of drop harassment or anything, so he doesn't have to worry about his retreat path either. His siege chain count is only going to be at 1, so that might make it a little bit harder to deal with any kind of big attacks coming his way soon. But ooh, Depot's down. No. Gets raised in time. Lings get forced back. souL's looking really good right now. Yeah,
he's getting away with very clean play. Lambo, I mean, he had the right jump start. He literally just attacked onto the army as soon as he saw it. It even was like, okay, is this really worth it for souL? And then he quickly lost control by underestimating, I suppose, the upgrade timing. And yeah, not having centrifugal hooks does end up hurting, no matter what you're up against. So he couldn't get any connections on the growing Marine count. But the loss of the 4th base, the loss of the army with it is a resource loss dump. It sucks. It is not the end of the game. And if he can go ahead and take pretty much no damage from further harassment, then I think things can settle again. But that's apparently not going to happen. He's getting attacked from 2 different sides.
Yeah, continued harassment. The Lings cannot deal with that without the Baneling, so the hatchery gets killed, not canceled. Baneling gets focus fire down right before the pickup. Really, really nicely microed there by souL. A lot of these Marines really need a few seconds to heal on up. And they are going to get that time as the Lings are a bit slow to react, and that medevacs are going to be able to get out of there safe and sound with most of their cargo.
Yeah, nice control here. You know, he got the 4th base with the push, and then he gets 2 medevac drops, 2 sets of medevac drops out in the map to kind of control Lambo, make sure he doesn't have that time to just totally recover, while getting his 4th CC up and additional production facilities. I think he's already on a 2nd factory, he's just not using it.
Yeah, I do also want to note though that Lambo did get something up during all of this, and that was his hive.
Yeah.
His hive is done. So with 2-2 also now finishing up, the +2 melee I think just need to complete here. There is going to be a potential for him to get up some of that hive tech, get up 3-3, get up adrenal glands, all of that good stuff. We'll see when he decides to invest in all of it. He may just be afraid about the attack coming in right now, though.
He absolutely should be afraid. Now, down about 10, 20 armor supply, it's not the worst thing, especially if he gets a decent surround, especially if it's on creep, and this can be a very testy area for Terran to try to push in here. It looks great until you realize that they could set up like a 360 surround almost, 270 at the very least. So that's why souL's being cautious, but that's also like Lambo does have to take it seriously. He's going to go for Carapace, and then he's going to add on some Vipers to help with the tanks. Take on isn't extreme, but take him out of the equation, maybe your Banelings actually get the connections on the Marines.
Ooh. souL has been pretty good about making sure those Banelings are not connecting. I actually say a little bit counter to how the first series went, where I think that was one of the few things that was going well for Lambo, but souL is so on top of the target firing down of each one of those Banelings, run away at the perfect time. Medevac spot out where a majority of the army is, and it seems like that's finally going to give him some confidence to move a little bit further forward and inch his way over to that bottom left-hand base.
Yeah, as you get maxed out, you know, you are thinking, even if he does get a concave, a surround, I should take like a pretty good trade. This is where Lambo does want that higher tech to help him out here, because if he loses control of this area, he probably will lose control of his 4th. Now he has a 5th setup. He could send drones over there if everything was really, really dangerous, but since nothing's been under fire
drop
yet,
on the north side also at the base there. We do see force. Yeah, looks like it is going to be handled like you said.
Yeah,
Mostly
pretty easily.
Yeah,
okay. But this is where those Vipers are going to come out here. They're going to help against the tanks and also against the Liberators that have joined up.
Parasitic Bomb on the medevacs. None of them are very low on hit points, but you know, you add in 1-2 more Parasitic Bombs, you do start softening them up and making the big targets for later.
Yeah, absolutely. An attempt to get a backstab or surround on a couple of Marines didn't really work out, as you saw there. His 4th base is now, I mean, shortly it's going to be under some real pressure. Lambo's going to go for the bust.
Okay, he's moving in from both angles. There's some of those blinding clouds thrown down on top of the siege tanks, but look at this Marine count. The Banelings are just disappearing. There's no more Ling support anymore. Wow. And souL now sitting up almost 50 supply right now. Is charging on forward, stimming forward. Greater Spire getting started up. Lambo, I don't know how you're going to plan to survive until that Greater Spire finishes.
I mean, he's not going to really be able to afford anything on that Greater Spire. He's going to have 4 Broodlords, and the Marines are going to easily sim underneath him and kill him. souL, with that defense, that position held, has won the game.
This is, that was such sick control from souL. He earns himself that first victory versus Lambo. And it's not in the same way that we saw in the first series where Lambo was kind of trying this sort of different, like, more old school thing, as Nathaniel was calling it, that true style from back in the day where you're like, Lings and Banelings until I get out Ultras. No, he was going for some of the Hydras, he was mixing stuff in, he was playing a more standard style, but souL just had such good control, such good harassment there, taking good engagements.
Yeah, well, his command of the positions on that map was very good. He did not overinvest into a position he thought was good and actually wasn't. That is the trap that you can fall into in that position. But he also got that early snipe on the 4th base, which really threw Lambo off. Maybe he would have more creep spread. Maybe he would have not let another attack get to that position had he been able to get the sufficient mining. But I think when all said and done, in that last fight, yes, the surround can sometimes be deadly, but that was actually a type of army position that I think it was the opposite, that a surround was the worst thing that Lambo could have done. And I say that, you know, hindsight 2020, so I sound amazing. But no, seriously, like, his army was so disjointed that if Lambo had only attacked from one side and patiently pulled
it would have been overwhelming numbers.
And Liberators, yeah, exactly. It might have been totally fine. But instead it was all the units spread out, not a lot of Lings to soak the fire. Banelings, of course, off creep are going to be targeted down, and it looked like a disaster. He went down like 70 supply.
Yeah, that last engagement definitely hurt him and kind of put the nail in the coffin there, but well done. souL now sitting up 1-0. We move on to King's Cove for game number 2. And he's going to be one game away from finally advancing on to those playoffs. Again, I think that souL was moving into this series maybe as a bit of the underdog. He's that player that I think still gets a lot, like a lot of people know how good souL is, but doesn't really get shown in WCS events. So it'd be really cool if he's able to now 2-0 Lambo, who I agree with you, I would have given favoritism in this.
Yeah, souL has been that guy that would come in and we kind of like hype him up because he is, he's definitely a ladder hero. I know that's usually said, you know.
No, he was at the top of every month of ladder heroes for a very long time.
There you go. But then he would come into these groups and he wouldn't just like fall a little bit short. He would like, not to be rude, but he kind of fall on his face and we're like, oh, I guess he needs more experience. Maybe it's nerves. Maybe it's he's too figured out. You know, maybe his mechanics aren't actually quite up there. But he comes in here mostly off of just good decision making and good macro. So, I mean, if he makes it through, then that's the chance he's been looking for. It's just like also on the flip side, if Lambo doesn't make it through, that's like a disaster for what Lambo expects of himself.
No, I definitely agree with you. One other thing that's worth noting in just this series as well as the last series is that souL has definitely been playing a little bit on the greedier side in the sense that you're going for a lot of these third CCs and stuff. I wonder if that's going to be an opportunity for Lambo. I know that Zergs have struggled traditionally to find the big pressure plays of the all-ins that are reliable to do versus a Terran. But Lambo is, I think, one of the players that has found maybe some opportunities there with like Night Storms and stuff. Kind of similar to a laser or something.
Yeah, it's one of those things, though, that the third CC is usually thrown out like that fast. Of a third CC is only thrown out 20% of games, like maybe not even. So, you know, that was a perfect scout with the Overlord. Basically, as soon as you can see it, you saw it. That's always great, but it's not a for sure thing. And you don't want to guess that they're going for a fast third CC. You also don't want to guess that they're going for a fast third CC with no protection. You know, 4 Hellions, that's it. Some people add in a tank follow-up very quickly because they feel unsafe. And again, you're gambling when you're choosing all-in. And Lambo, although he can gamble, you know, he's a great best-of player, he's usually also too confident in his own skills to say, I need to do this.
Yeah, that's quite fair. He is a very confident player in his abilities. We're going to see if that confidence can bring him back in this series as King's Cove is getting loaded on up. Excited to see where this is going to go. So what do you want to see from Lambo changed up?
I mean, that's... It's hard to pinpoint one thing, you know, because that last game I thought was like pretty well set up, except that he missed the opportunity to hit the Carapace upgrade timing. It was not far off either. It was just kind of like one of those gut-wrenching moments where he probably thought he still had the upgrade advantage.
Just execution, like same sort of plan, but just execution a little bit different.
Yeah, and that kind of even sums up how Lambo has felt so off to us today, right? The reason he is finding himself down one in the decider match is that he's not making these really silly calls. He's not, you know, doing nothing but all-ins, and we're like, what are you doing? He is playing some decent macro games, some decent attacks. It just doesn't feel as powerful as they have in the past from him.
And that can be really, really tough. When you're having one of those days, I mean, StarCraft is kind of unforgiving in that sense. It's actually really, really cool to see players having their peaks and their kind of valleys in terms of how they're feeling on different days, how well they're playing and everything. Lambo actually tweeted out about 3 hours ago. I was curious because, you know, Lambo likes to tweet out about how his matches and stuff are going. He was saying, really couldn't force myself to focus during this match. I'm pretty confident about the rematch if I get him again, so I'm not too sad about it. But I got to get my head into the game. So, I mean, just going back to exactly what we were talking about, Lambo really seeming to have a bit of trouble finding that concentration, that focus today. We're going to see if he can find it in game number 2 because he needs to. There's no more second chances.
I'm really glad that some pro gamers tweet that out, by the way, because it's always that time. It feels like that time when you're like, yeah, they're just not playing like the usual self. That they're like, no, that build is just like really unexpected and really good on that map, okay?
I'm actually playing at 140% efficiency right now.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, whoops, my bad.
Yeah.
But that's actually been kind of happening more recently, it feels like. And I might just be like confirmation bias, whatever word it would be. But like a laser tweeted that out, right? Just 3 weeks ago.
It's kind of a silly way of putting it. But I think it's less so that the players that didn't before started doing it, and more so that the players that do like to tweet stuff out, like a Laser or Lambo and stuff, are just doing better now. So you see them more often in WCS and everything.
Well,
that's what I think it is.
It's that they're being tested faster, maybe, is more what it is. Because
it's
hard to say that a Laser is doing better than like 2017, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but I feel like I actually I see where you're going with that, and like I kind of a bit like
nice snipe on the creep tumor.
There are times where some of our more vocal players are actually dominant. So when they tweet, they're like, "Yeah, I'm pretty proud. I got round 4." And you're like, "That makes sense."
Actually, my favorite is, and guys, go to Neeb's Twitter, all right, and you'll just see because Neeb only tweets out after a tournament. But his last, like, 9 tweets are like, oh, sorry, disappointed in my performance and stuff. It'll be like, he gets, like, 3rd place or, like, 2nd place. Like, but then, like, he is actually winning other events. Like, he'll win he'll do well at a Cheese Adelphi or something, or he'll win WCS Challenger for NA. Nothing. No tweets. He only tweets when he loses now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we did have another 3rd CC build while we were jabbing around.
Yeah.
Lambo goes for Overlord speed here. He could not get the Overlord nice, snuck around the back. But he will see, I mean, first lack the starport, but there you go. 3rd CC confirmation. Probably a little disappointed by that, I would say. Like, I'm thinking he got Overlord speed more because souL's up 1 and he is aggressive. And if it wasn't going to be a 2-rax, maybe that's 2 on the nose, and maybe it's like a Hellbat attack. But if you do a Hellbat attack of a fast 3rd CC, I mean, I guess it is technically possible. It's, I don't know, it's not usually done.
Yeah.
So, not to say that's a waste. Obviously, intel is always good. But, yeah, maybe not expecting a 3rd CC again. And again, he's not in a position to do anything about it except just respond and match it.
Okay, well, the Hellions really, really respecting Lambo there, as there was only the single queen and no Lings actually over at that 3rd base. They were all sitting over by the natural, so doesn't want to chance it, though. Doesn't want to dive in for any of those drones, and the backup queens do arrive there shortly thereafter. Quick lair coming up here. Now, this isn't like a, oh, man, this lair is so fast. Is this a really quick all-in? But this is a much faster lair by almost like a minute to minute and a half faster than the previous game.
Yes, yeah, definitely a minute. Yeah, so this is, it was like 4:30, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that might be a direct response to like, okay, I underestimated the power of the drop into push, because that's what originally it was going to be, but then those Lings did the run by, so it just turned into a push. But if you had Centrifugal Hulks, those 6 Banelings probably get at least literally 1 connection on combat shieldless Marines, and you're like, yeah, you got to leave. So maybe this is a response to that. He's figuring that if it's the same build, it's going to be the same attack, and this time he'll have speed, and hopefully on more creep too. That would be the ideal. And he should, you would think, crush it.
Okay, well, Carapace upgrade gets started on up, 4th base, trying to be established here. The Hellions are probably going to spot this out pretty quickly, so souL's going to know general idea of what Lambo's plan is over here. Overlord comes back in, tries to get some scouting information. Doesn't see a whole lot, doesn't see what is on the starport or anything, but does see that there are multiple barracks down, so confirms the bio if he didn't already know it before.
Yeah, that's a good point. Confirms its bio on Mac, and then also I think seeing like maybe how fast the tank production had started. Because again, some follow-ups are just like swap that tank factor out of Tech Lab pretty immediately. But it's actually 6 Hellions, not 4, and yeah, he used the reactors for his barracks pretty much entirely. So here is a faster, it's a drop that we saw last game that was denied, but it has a few more Marines, and now it has 6 Hellions too.
Yep, he's going to be hitting before combat shields or +1 weapons, but he focus fires down one of the Banelings. The Baneling speed still another 15, 25 seconds away, and those Banelings taking some big hits from the Hellions. A lot of them softened up, and they go down pretty quickly. Hellions still even alive to handle some of the Lings, and oh man, are we going to see another 4th base sniped off?
That was good. That was good. So the 4th base is saved. Luckily, with that, especially with that combat shields and being so active, the Marines were getting quite low. But there is an attack oncoming here. Like this, he cleared up some creep. I think the Queens had used transfuses on each other, and he did reset the Baneling count. But this time, you do have +1 Carapace and Centrifugal Hooks. Although souL's 1-1 is also about to finish.
Yep, 1-1 is going to be big here for souL. But like you said, Baneling speed is a really, really big lifesaver. I also want to note that the medevac's pretty low on energy here for souL. He does rally in another one, but 4th base taking a lot of damage from these Marines. Is Lambo going to try and save it? He does try to move in. Liberator also Siege up, going to be able to take out some of the Queens or the Banelings. And oh, a nice hot pickup there. Dodges out most of the Banelings. The Siege Tanks are going to be left for dead, and he gets that hatchery so low, but doesn't finish it.
That was scary right there. A little bit off creep, a lot of room to maneuver for souL. So many units getting very low. But Lambo does hold. That was, oh boy.
And that was 1-1 is finished up. Lambo has been able to tie up those upgrades now.
Yeah, that is good news. And he also kept like army alive from that, right?
Yeah.
So we're not a case of having to reset entirely. That was close. That was scary. But Lambo holds and is a better position than last game because he saves his 4th base. He is, yeah, he's still droning, which kind of, sucks, but he is going to get to that 72, actually kind of identical with souL, who's already on his way to a 4th CC.
Yeah, that's the big thing. As much as we're saying, like, Lambo's doing really well this game compared to last game, a lot of it is just compared to last game, and this game, souL's still also doing fine. He also lifted up a lot of his big units there. He lifted up the Marines and everything, got them out of there. He did lose the Siege Tanks and the Liberator, which sucks, but he's got a lot of army supply still, and he's still being aggressive.
Nice pick-off right there. I think souL is basically playing the same style, except that he had 2 more Hellions, or he had 4 more Marines, or he had that Liberator, but it's kind of the same timings of pushes and the same idea for them. So Lambo reading into that drop that's going to be set to 2 sides. This one a bit more than drop, but still, that was a nice pick-off. This one denies the creep-spreading Queen. Actually, how many Queens is Lambo on? Okay, so he's been replacing them. Sometimes you see they're still only on 4 Queens, and they don't have any to spread that creep.
Yeah, still got 6 Queens out and those 3 Queens at the front lines. Hydra's also sharking around on the south side of the map. They are going to be able to find a medevac. Oh, barely not getting it, though. souL makes it out of there alive, but souL still has that force at the top side, and Lambos should be still prepared on this angle, but creep spread making things a little bit more complicated.
That Hydra almost getting the medevac was amazing, by the way, because it was like 1 second before Groove Spines was done.
Oh!
That was the timing was so
He
good.
He knew! Calculated. 2-2 finishing up for both of these players pretty soon, and we do actually see Lambo taking a very slight upgrade lead. Seems like souL a bit slower to start up his own 2-2, just by a few seconds. But it is going to give Lambo that small little bit of comfort there that he's not going to be outpaced on upgrades.
Yeah, so now we're kind of going fully into that later TVZ. It's 10 minutes, still mid-game, but as they're both on 4 or 5 bases, Hive's coming up here. souL will have another attack with Bio Tank, but if Lambo holds, then we are talking about maybe transitioning into Liberators and Ghost, which he was last game actually already setting up for.
Okay.
He was very quick into that, and again, he is here too with a Fusion Court, double Starport.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I am pretty excited because, yeah, we're seeing really, really macro-oriented play coming out here from souL. Of course, there's a lot of that medevac aggression and everything that was coming out, but it really has calmed down ever since those medevacs got pushed back. And now we're starting to see the creep spread getting much further out there, so Lambo getting a bit of extra vision for any drops that would come across the map, the Overlord coverage in the top right, the Force over here in the bottom left. This is definitely looking like it's going to be a hard situation for souL to put the counter pressure on unless it's with a big attack.
So I thought souL was going to do another bio tank push, just hoping to hit before ultras or hoping that even the ultra count would be that high. But he is actually kind of going full defensive mode. So the tanks are sieged up defensively. He has 3 command centers on the way, 2 Ghost Academies, and is really setting himself here for the late game. Even a 4th command center coming down. So he's not going to be pushing so much as he's hoping that Lambo pushes in at him and overestimates his position, and then maybe he can counter.
And one of my favorite developments of TVZ these days, the multiple Ghost Academies, implying that it is not just getting up Ghosts or cloaking. He's looking to go for some nukes, and I love that about that has become a norm in TVZ now.
Well, I've always thought that it was like underutilized for the longest time, because you would get to these super late game positions, and after the Raven nerf, you no longer would like kind of automatically win the defensive fight. Anyways, but yeah, like you would start to really grasp at straws at how to harass your opponents. You know, drops would be seen by overlords with speed or creep spread. That's just like totally crazy. But ghosts, the one thing they can do is get a cross creep, you know, with their cloak, and you get a nuke, 2 nukes, 2 drops going on. And back at home, you're still pretty well set up defensively with tanks and liberators. That's when you actually do damage to the Zerg's economy.
It is going to take a little while for souL to get up to that point where he has all of that stuff available. The medevac drop not really accomplishing a whole lot so far. And with the Spire now finishing up and Greater Spire on the way, that does maybe open the opportunity for Lambo to also get out some Corruptors, chase down that 1 or 2 medevacs in the corner. And souL still very much on the defensive, but Lambo is sharking around on the south side. Is he about to move in there with that army to the 4th? A lot of Lings and Banes. I mean, the Banes could go off. It's not worth using the Banes on the Planetary, right?
I did that thing where I waited.
Yeah.
That didn't sound stupid. No, but it's something that's constantly threatening. So if souL sends up a sensor tower to the 5th there and sees that, that's still something he has to always consider. Can run at any point. This is the time where the Zerg has gotten the explosion of creep out, right? So you're the one that's feeling quite suffocated.
All right, find some nice snags there on the Bioforces. A medevac does somehow go somewhat undetected here. Spore Caller and a Queen are going to be there to greet it inside of the natural. There's not a lot of mining or a lot of drones to snipe off over here, but it looks like that medevac goes down pretty quick. Lings and Hydra's there to react. souL dropping back in with that medevac that was sitting in the top left-hand corner for a bit. They find a couple of drones in the main base.
souL's not even microing it right now.
Yeah.
He's trying to deal with the Baneling attack.
Well, I mean, yeah, aggression happening on 3 different angles, and these ghosts are super control intensive to use well. And there's also a nuke coming down, so the action is really starting to heat up. Their APM is definitely going to be taxed. It looks like Lambo, not really noticing, is going to lose a decent number of drones over here. That's a solid like 7 or 8. Not bad. Softens up that hatchery as well.
Yep. This should not be a shock to Lambo, but maybe now he will start setting down more stack defense. Not that that like stops Ghost completely.
That Ghost was actually in range of a Spore Caller.
Yeah, but you know, if they have to clear stack defense before even reaching the hatchery, then that can be something. And Lambo, like after that really scary attack on the 4th base, there really has not been many trades. So Lambo has been banking a ton. souL is not banking because he's investing so much into the future.
Oh, I love this nuke right on top of so much of these big tech buildings, the evolution chambers, the Greater Spire, the Hydralisk Den, the Infestation Pit, even just softening them up.
Okay, so he saw it. I actually thought the Liberator was going to give it away.
Yeah.
But he saw it slightly before that. Now the buildings take a while to actually tear down with nukes, but that Ghost all sneaky like that in the main base, I think he's even, unless an Overseer goes over there, he can't actually see.
He's got 2 nukes available right now, so he can throw some more down. Marauder's soaking up those Banelink hits. Just trying to pull Lambo into so many different positions all at the same time, so he doesn't necessarily notice the nukes, but Lambo trying to put on some of his own pressure. He moves in some Banelings. There's the nuke coming down over the 3rd base. That's where the 2nd Spire is as well, so might get a little bit damaged on there, but look at that hatchery. It's already sitting so low on hit points.
So Lambo can't even see that Ghost up there. There's no creep spread and there's no overlord.
Oh, 13 drones.
Yeah, to Lambo's like credit here, why he's taking so much damage, I think, is because souL is moving into his main natural and 3rds, where usually it's so much about the 5th and 6th that are under attack. So I don't think he's like thinking about looking at it.
It's going to be another 10 or 12 drones.
Yeah, this is seriously good.
Oh, he just punched him up. Oh. 28 drones now.
Now, it's always funny, right? Because we don't have any like gut punch, you know? And if souL even wanted to try and use this, he has so many units that have to be repositioned, resieged, that he like inches forward. So that's just a really weird thing where nukes are awesome, but he's still kind of waiting for Lambo to go, okay, this sucks, and move into him.
And you'll also notice, yes, it sucks to lose like 37 workers, maybe soon to be a few more, as another nuke was launched. I think maybe the Ghost got canceled or something. Another nuke coming out also. But Lambo's still at 80 workers, and not just that, he has he has a 6K mineral bank, and almost 5K gas bank.
Oh, move the drones!
Okay, again, like, it sucks, but Lambo isn't really lacking the ability to remake these drones.
I know. It's like, nukes are awesome. They're so cool.
They're just fun. They're fun right now.
But the weird thing is that like 100 as we get into these really long games, I mean, isn't that much. Because then you see souL is starting to bank. He's done getting literally every single production upgrade. But like usually you, I would say like half the time at least, you do not get a return on that investment. You get damage on a hatchery or spine crawler. But
or you get creep tumors even.
He's actually trading favorably for that nuke. So that's better than I would have expected.
Absolutely. And if this, I mean, you have to also keep in mind that the way that Lambo is playing, he does not necessarily have the most cost-efficient army. Like, souL has all these Liberators, he has a bunch of Ghosts and Vikings and everything. These are all units that are going to trade out pretty well when it comes to an engagement. Lambo has a bunch of Lings, some Banelings. He's only now mixing in some of those Infestors and getting out the Broodlords and everything, the Hydras. It's not necessarily the army that trades out super efficiently.
I love the way that souL's been playing this. You know, again, he's not. No, that army. No, the army. No, the army.
One Broodlord.
We're good. Okay. He's not, like, he still wants, like, the ideal scenario is that Lambo moves into him, gets fed up, and still moves into a defensive setup, and he just wins super easily. But not getting that, oh my lord, not getting that, he is slowly inching his way forward with static defense, Liberators, and removing creep. It's slow, but it's happening.
And it's because he's taxing the APM, and there he gets a Spore Crawler and a base with that nuke. 28 workers killed. Do you want to take a guess how many workers have been killed this game?
140?
You're not too far. It's 101. And now this nuke coming down on top of the Greater Spire and the Infestation. You know what I'd really like to see from Lambo? That's actually, I'm going to steal your suggestion from earlier. More static defense. Just spores and spines, like for example, at that choke point of the natural, a spore and a spine over there to catch a ghost that's moving up that ramp.
Yeah, you at least stop them from hitting the heart of your bases, even if it's a temporary solution.
Yeah.
Also, Overseers in surveillance mode, so they're not F2'd, means that the ghost is either going to say, okay, I'm going to be detected and I hope you don't respond, which could still work, or they like snipe the Overseer.
And then they have less energy available for the cloaking.
Yeah, for cloak. Yeah. So it's just like something, right? It's all about putting more barriers to entry. And instead of doing anything to put those barriers up, Lambo is just actually literally letting ghosts into his base.
Yeah.
And hoping that his APM is good enough to respond. And usually I'd say it is, but not today.
Those are actually those weren't Broodlords morphing in. Those are drop over. Actually gets killed. And the nuke as it was building, not canceled. A couple of workers did go down, but remember, souL also, because he's mining out his side of the map a little bit slower and trading out, before, Lambo had the 5 or 6K mineral bank and a big gas bank. Well, Lambo's starting to eat through that mineral bank. It's souL that's building up a big bank and also pushing forward gradually and still finding value with these nukes.
Yeah. And he did, that's the spine crawlers that was hoping to stop that, and they just get destroyed.
Yeah.
We are admitting that would have happened, but maybe if he had done all that faster, he would have taken a bit less damage from the nukes. So he's taken so much damage at this point, like actually insane amount of damage from the nukes. It's like the first game I've seen so many nukes do so well. He's also been a bit shy about expanding, because we actually don't have drops. We have harassment. We have nukes that hopefully you find, or Liberators that can't kill a base. So he has not taken 2 bases that are technically his.
Well,
he may regret that.
Fungal growth comes down on top of all these ghosts, but they do manage to make their way back to safety. Vikings sniping off a handful of these. Oh my god, that fungal on the Vikings and parasitic bomb. Unfortunately for Lambo, not paired together. The Vikings are going to land and narrowly survive that. But now the Broodlords come forward because they don't have a lot to worry about. This is the opportunity Lambo has been waiting for.
Yeah, very nice. Taking out those Vikings. I mean, his corruptor count was pretty good anyways, but there are the ghosts. They are getting some of their snipes. Look at the EMPs all on those Infestors. How many are left over? He's on 12 ghosts. I don't know exactly where they are. They're coming forward now. can they actually get the snipes? There's still a fungal, 2 fungals left over.
Yeah, there's just a very, very few, and he's been trying to get these snipes off on the Corruptors, a lot of them going off on the Corruptors, to try and soften up that anti-air so that his Liberators and his Viking reinforcements can deal with the Broodlords. It seems like the nuke is going to try and zone out this army for a bit. I also want to note, a lot of the Overseers actually got sniped off.
Oh, good point.
Actually, are there any Overseers with that army?
Overseers.
There's 3 Overseers in the army. Okay, there they are.
Yeah, of course, Fungal will help as well, but he's starting to run a little low on that. But the building, Planetary gets taken down despite them building armor. The Banelings rolling through. There's no tanks anymore to help with the mass amount of units here.
Yeah, it's going to become problematic. Oh, Liberator getting a couple of kills on some of these remaining Infestors. The Liberator comes back in, doing some counter-harassment during the midst of all this, trying to pull Lambo's attention away from this main army fight, but Lambo is not going to be deterred. He continues to move on forward with these Broodlords. The Viking count back up to 12. That's the help of so many of those starports. He can make a ton of Vikings at once. The Ghost count is also still there, but he's starting to lose some of them. He's getting some snipes off. Are there many Corruptors left over? There's only, what?
4 or 5?
4, 5, 6 out on the map right now. The Vikings finally finding an opportunity over here. There's not that many Fungals left over either.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of Ghosts, and they could get some snipes.
Here come the Banelings.
The Banelings might be taking care of that, but the Vikings are taking care of the Broodlords. Both of them set back a lot on that bank, but Lambo falling even farther in that supply is forced to retreat. He does not hit that juicy center of the Ghosts, and I don't know how much he can really retreat against Vikings. His Corruptor count's not very high, as opposed to the Viking count, which is extremely high.
Corruptors are just going to get sniped off one by one over here. This is going to start to snowball things even further in his favor. souL sitting up 60 supply. There it is. GG. Well played. Grats. And souL is going to 2-0 Lambo a second time and advance out of Group C to the playoffs.
That is a shocking result. That is, I totally agree with Lambo's tweet. I thought he was going to be able to bring it back.
Yeah.
But he was still like not looking like the Lambo of old, even in his last games versus DNS. So I was like, okay, maybe not. But I mean, to take the focus off of Lambo's, I guess, disappointing result, and more about just like congratulations souL for not just getting himself out of a group, which he's done before, but a really tough group.
And he looked so good doing it.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of those situations where you kind of say, okay, you played really well or you played pretty decently, but like your opponent made a lot of... No. souL played really, really well today.
Yep.
He even gave Uthermal, I would say, like kind of run for his money in some of those situations and everything. So I'm really, really happy for souL. He's one of those guys that we've been saying this so many times today. We've been waiting for the big results to come in for him, and this is starting to begin things, you know, make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, no, and against players that, you know, a group that was pretty deadly.
Yeah.
And Lambo, yeah, just... I guess unable to focus today, man. You have those bad days. That's why the new format's coming in for spring, right, guys? Topical.
That knockout bracket.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, let's recap the day really quickly for you guys. You can see who made it out of the group, and we total things up. Uthermal, of course, if in case you missed it, did manage to 2-0 his group, but still had some rough runs versus both DNS and souL, both giving them a run for his money, but looking still very strong. souL, our second Terran player. We had 2 Terran players make it out today of today's group. How amazing. souL with the 2-1, getting the upset versus Lambo 2 times in a row is going to advance out. And of course, Lambo getting knocked out with a 1-2 alongside DNS, who did get 0-2'd, unfortunately. But you'll, of course, be able to see more of them at some of the other WCS events in the future.
Well, you're going to see, I think most people here signed up for spring to actually go to Kiev. So you'll probably see them there.
There's that open bracket. They got plenty of time. They got that knockout bracket they can always fall back to. So lots of opportunities. Lots of StarCraft coming up. And speaking of which, Zombie Grub, is there more StarCraft coming up here?
No, that's it. Goodbye, guys.
No. Shh. We have the WCS NA Challenger coming up. We're going to be taking a little bit of a longer break before we jump into that, but a very, very fun group. I'm not going to lie, Zombie Grub, I tried to go to bed at like 7:30 p.m. last night. I took like sleeping medicine and everything. I was so amped. I'm actually not exaggerating this. I was so amped up I couldn't fall asleep until like 11 p.m. because I was so hyped for this NA group. This is like my dream, one of my dream NA groups. You got Future and Silky and Masa and Rob. It's going to be a fun day, and we're starting off with a rematch from the Cheesadelphia 9 finals. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching WCS Challenger Group C's.